Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Love Search Shop, an original Valentine's Day consumer research presented by our Net Elixir University. I am your host, Kelly Rafalski, but before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes for you all. You are all currently in listen-only mode. If you experience any technical difficulties during the webinar, click on Help at the top of your console. That will connect you with the GoToWebinar help desk. Also, this is an interactive session, so feel free to type any questions you have into the questions box located at the bottom of the console, and we'll get to those questions answered during the Q&A portion of our session. I would like to mention that today's presentation is being recorded and will be available for future playback. And lastly, we would love to hear from you, so feel free to tweet us at NetElixir and use the hashtag #LoveSearchShop. So right now, I'll give you a quick overview about who we are. For over 11 years, NetElixir has delivered proven search marketing strategies which uncover actionable insights that companies can use to grow their business online. From pet supplies to hotels or even computers, we work with leading B2B and B2C brands in every retail sector. With a growing team of 90+ fanatically analytical search marketers, marketing strategies that deliver real results. So now on to our main event. Let me introduce you to our speaker today, Udayan Bose. Udayan is the founder and CEO of NetElixir, and he started his career at partybingo.com. In his spare time, he lectures at Cornell University, Baruch, and the India School of Business. And he'd love for you to connect with him on LinkedIn, so there's the link. So now I'll pass it off to Udayan, and he'll start.
Thank you, Kelly. Hi, everyone. I'll just start with some quick findings from our research. But before I do that, let me just start off with a very interesting anecdote. This was by the exec editor of AdWeek, that 75% of the people said they don't want anything on Valentine's Day. But when asked again in the same survey, 25% of them admitted that they lied. So it's an interesting thing. So Valentine's Day, sometimes when you are doing a consumer research, it's very difficult to understand the core intent. So we decided to sort of do our study essentially on about 5 million search queries, because normally people do not lie when they are searching, because search is an expression of intent, and that is the reason I think our study came up with some pretty remarkable findings that we really were hoping to share with you today. The data was captured separately for mobile and desktop, and we did an extensive amount of demographic segmenting. So we were able to find out as for men and women separately. And we used our proprietary technology, which is Elixir Insights, which has the capability of tracking the individual paths to purchase, because once you click, what are the channels you are visiting and how do you really land on the site, we wanted to track the entire path. We also used our technology Elixir Buzz to scan tweets, and that was one of the most interesting part of the study as to what did really people tweet about during Valentine's Day. So the first finding, who bought the more expensive gifts? Very interestingly, it seems again, either women's gifts are more expensive or men probably are a little more generous in terms of gift giving. I can almost like hear and feel some of you snickering out there, but I think that's what the outcome is. The interesting part also was for us, in 2015 to 2016, it seemingly the gap between the price of men's gift and women's gift seems to be increasing, or sort of the gap seems to be increasing even further. I mean, as you can see in 2016, the gap between men and women's average order value of the gift was about 31.2%, while in 2015 it was about 20.9%. So that was interesting. They seem to be sort of giving more generous in terms of gift giving as such. We also wanted to find out as to how planned are people in terms of giving gifts. And one of the interesting things which came out was 70% of the purchases, believe it or not, were made before 5th of Feb, which was completely debunking essentially all of our myths of the last minute purchases. Now, this is an interesting statistic. We had done this study last year as well. And the percentage of last minute buyers, as far as I remember, I can't quote the exact number, but I definitely remember that it was a lot higher last year in terms of the last minute purchases. So are people getting a little better planned this year? Maybe. The other part was, what were the top days? So interestingly, again, a hugely surprising thing, because we normally expected men to be significantly worse planned compared to women in terms of sort of buying the gifts. But in this case, actually, believe it or not, men beat out the women in our overall data set or data pool, and they were the number one Valentine's Day gifting sort of purchase day for men was February 3rd, while for women it was Feb 10th, which was again interesting because Feb 3rd, as we know, is probably about 10 days before the actual Valentine's Day. That seems to be a little too planned for men. The other part, again, maybe just to sort of emphasize this piece, if we can go on to the next one, Kelly, yeah, that women seem to be more ready to wait for the last minute deal. So are we talking about women as stronger bargain hunters? So the interesting part is all of these studies, there were no really in-person conversations. It was entirely a search intent mapping research, which came out of the data that we collected through LXR Insights. So, I mean, some of those interesting insights especially sort of assume a level of importance because when, as marketers, you are planning out your marketing promotions, a question that you probably may want to ask yourself is, are you really keeping track of this changing or fast evolving consumer behavior? And are your promotions really relevant at the right point in time so that you are able to really acquire customers effectively? We also try to track what were the most popular Valentine's Day search queries. Now, again, the graph on the left, you would see that women by far beat out all the male search queries. So gift for boyfriend was significantly higher than gifts for girlfriend. So in terms of search, it very clearly seems that women are searching a lot more than men. The top searches for men were Valentine's Day's ideas for girlfriend, gifts for her, cute Valentines, how to ask a girl to be your Valentine. So again, all of these were top searches. Again, if you look at it interestingly, in terms of search marketing, we sometimes tend to jump and think of search marketing purely as a direct marketing or a direct response sort of a medium, right? So effectively, you sort of think of a transactional search query, buying gift, etc. Now, the interesting part in this thing is, if you look at the first one for men, Valentine's Day ideas for girlfriend, that's just more of an inquiry that is being done. That's not definitely a transactional search query. That probably at best is an informational search query. The second one, the Valentine's Day gifts for her, also seems to be a informational search query where you are trying to find out all the different options available. The third one is very generic. It's very difficult to really make out any sort of sense of that. And the last one is completely on a different note. So again, sometimes as marketers, especially retail marketers, we are very prone to jumping and trying to calculate an ROI about everything. One of the recommendations that we would very strongly have based on this data is, it probably makes a lot of sense trying to build a customer funnel, because the customer is not really obligated to buy every time she comes on your site. It's as simple as that. We also try to track what were the age groups which bought the most expensive gift. Some of these results probably were a little predictable. For example, you see that big orange bar of 25%. So that's the 25 to 34 age group in men, and 30% in women was again that 25 to 34 age group, which is probably expected. The interesting part though is the other two adjoining demographic as such. If you look at the gray part, which is 35 to 44, that was constant at 21% for both men and women. 18 to 24, which honestly speaking, we had expected that age group because they probably have just started their jobs. They probably are much more engaged in the Valentine's Day, we had expected that percentage to be a little higher than this 13% and 15%. So that was probably a slight surprise. If you really sort of move on a little further, you would see that that age group, that yellow bar, which is 45 to 54, remained pretty steady, and the slightly older demographic, which is 55 plus, if you look at it, as expected, probably was low. Now, again, connecting with this thing, again, if you really sort of try to make those connections, let us try to find out as to how important was mobile phones in terms of sort of driving search sales. So mobile orders, interestingly, and all these are mobile search marketing orders, grew by a huge 49%. So what we are really seeing is mobile is fast becoming almost like a bottom of the funnel device as well. A few years back, mobile was considered as the top of the funnel, but I mean, we saw it for the first time during this holiday season, the 2015 holiday season, and it's very clear now as well that mobile has become a pretty strong bottom of the funnel option or a source. So that's again just this trend seems to be very prominent around Valentine's Day. Interestingly about Valentine's Day, so we have normally habitually seen around particular events or days, somehow the mobile order seems to increase. So that's a very interesting observation. And if you really connect this with a very simple fact, the fact happens to be, if I'm really sort of mapping mobile orders, are all these people last-minute buyers, probably who are probably driven to use their mobile phones, are much more likely to use their mobile phones to purchase a lot more quickly as the main event sort of approaches. So what is the outcome for the retail marketer? The retail search marketer, specifically the mobile retail search marketer, may want to focus on mobile search marketing campaigns, almost like exclusive mobile search marketing campaigns, and a very, very specific bidding strategy, maybe about 7 days before the actual day. For example, 7 days before Valentine's Day, or the next big day is like Mother's Day coming up. We would very strongly recommend that maybe about 7 to 10 days before Mother's Day, you should have a very aggressive mobile search marketing plan to maximize these sort of last-minute purchases.
All right, so we have our first poll for all of our attendees today. So which channel were people most likely to click prior to making a purchase? So please select one of your answers. I'll give you just a few seconds for all of you to choose. All right, just a couple more seconds right before I close it. 3, 2, 1. Close. All right.
What were the results like?
So,
Interesting.
So it looks like 33% of you thought social media link, and then organic listing came second, and then PPC in third. All right, so, and then we'll reveal our results next.
So this is pretty interesting because the last channel to be clicked, at least in our data set, and as I mentioned, sort of 5 million clicks tracked, we had organic search, believe it or not, with 30% of the times, all the people who purchased were likely to sort of come with the last click on an SEO listing, right? 18% was paid search. Amazingly, Facebook, LinkedIn, or the entire social was just about 3%. Again, I must sort of admit out here that maybe our data set is a little too skewed towards retail focus, and maybe we are still not really seeing social media being the last click channel when it comes to retail. And specifically when you say we are not seeing, I'm talking of in relative terms, not in absolute terms. Absolute terms probably still is pretty high. But when you compare with organic search listings or SEO listings or paid search listings, it seems to be sort of losing out. So again, that famous saying, right? I mean, how many times has SEO, people said that SEO is dead? But honestly speaking, every time, I think it's a very clear prognosis that SEO, please focus on SEO, because it is not really going anywhere soon. For some reason, whether it is psychological, whether it is SEO has been there forever, whether it is a credibility impact, whether it is, I don't know, Google's algorithms and trying to make it more relevant, whether it is the rank brain algorithm which is coming up now, etc., etc. It just somehow feels every time that people believe organic listings. I'll repeat that rather strong statement. People believe organic listings. So again, something to sort of really consider as you are really planning your overall digital marketing plan. The next one was we tried to find out whether online shoppers, the Valentine's Day gift shoppers, did they spend more this year versus last year? And yes, they did. They spent about 6.4% more. And we have selected this 20 days before Valentine's Day, right? So it is like 25th of Jan to 14th of Feb. This period, they spent about 6.4% more in Valentine's Day spend. It is not a huge increase, but still 6.4% increase is not bad. And this is incidentally the overall e-commerce increase rather than being just a search marketing increase.
Okay, so now we have our second poll. Which of these Valentine's Day gifts were tweeted the most? All right, just a few more seconds. All right, so let's see the results. So, a tie between Valentine's Day cards and cupcakes. And then Valentine's Day themed beer came in second, and no one thought vegan candies at all were tweeted. Oh man, okay.
So we had done this test using our tool, LXR Buzz. So we essentially tried to pull in all the tweets, analyze them about 10 days before Valentine's Day. Very interestingly, vegan candies was number one. Believe it or not, vegan candies came number one in over 1 million tweets that we had analyzed before Valentine's Day. We were surprised as well. Honestly speaking, before this research result came out, if you had asked me, maybe it wouldn't have come in my top 1,000 guesses probably. So it's an unbelievable. So again, a tremendous validation of one very simple thing. One of the things which I really sort of feel almost like blessed every day is we are almost like in midst of a tremendous societal change which is sort of going on. People's behaviors are evolving at such a fast pace. The preferences are changing so dramatically. And some of these tools like Twitter or the social media tools, even Instagram, Facebook, just the search query, there is so much knowledge and information. The only request that we have at NetElixir, because we have made it our mission, as Kelly mentioned earlier, to humanize every click. It's basically to almost like diagnose and understand or decode what really makes people click. So again, our request from this slide is please spend some time understanding your customer. As you can see, vegan candies, Valentine's Day cards, third was cupcakes, cakes and kisses, and Valentine's Day themed beards. And movies and TV show, we had, again, a bunch. So very, very, very interesting stuff. Again, probably sort of almost like is a big wake-up call for all of us that please pay attention to all those social signals and all those reviews and all those messages that you are getting every day. I'll just end. I know it has been it was a short presentation, but we had just sort of 10 findings, key findings. And I must sort of thank the team for really collecting all the data and putting this together. But we wanted to end with some key insights and recommendations. The first one, which probably should seem to be a no-brainer, is gender-based millennials targeting. I think it's very, very important that we have for a very long time clubbed millennials or baby boomers or Gen X together. It's very clear that men and women have different preferences, different buying behavior, as we have seen different search patterns as well. So we are very clearly clearly championing the cause of almost like a hyper-targeted search marketing or digital marketing. Because unless and until your message is really crafted for a particular gender or a demographic set, the probability of it resonating with that set is going to be quite minimal. The second one is please focus on mobile. I mean, I can't really see it anymore, say it anymore in a direct manner. Better bid focus on mobile. So what we saw very interestingly was most retailers were not prepared for mobile. A very easy statement was there was not as much of a bid management or a bidding war, let us say, on mobile devices around Valentine's Day. We found it to be very surprising because the average bid prices before Valentine's Day for the relevant terms went up on desktop by almost as much as about 100%. But on mobile, the fluctuation was a lot less. As mobile becomes a bottom of the funnel device, it's very important for you to think and rethink your entire mobile search marketing plan. And obviously, mobile bidding strategy is definitely a part of that. The third, organic still rules the game. Long live SEO. All that I can say is SEO is a predominant channel. And honestly speaking, you think you can escape SEO, you cannot escape SEO. It's just a very direct statement. In fact, we had recently released a book, an ebook, which sort of mentions some SEO and PPC hacks. I would very strongly recommend you, if you have interest in going ahead and learning some practical tricks and tips to improve your search marketing, SEO, and PPC rankings, to download this book. It is netelixir.com/SEM_hacks. You will get 12 very practical ideas to improve your search marketing results. Last but not the least, early advertising. That was again that was a very unique finding as well. We had very safely thought that people will not be great planners, and there would be a lot of post 10th of Feb purchases. As we have seen that 70% of all the purchases were completed by 5th of Feb. For men, 3rd of Feb was the number one Valentine's Day gift shopping day. So it's very interesting. So as these things evolve, people are probably making a lot more considered planned purchases, which may be again an eye opener for a lot of marketers who can accordingly really customize their marketing programs. So those were the insights. I sort of handed back to Kelly. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and any questions, we will be happy to sort of take those questions.
Thanks, Udayan. As you mentioned, at this time, I want to open up the floor to any questions. So please type your questions into the questions box located below your webinar window. We'll do our best to answer all of the questions as best we can. And for those questions we don't answer, we'll reply to you via email after the webinar. So let's have them pile in. All right, Udayan, I have a couple here. First one, given the likely difference in the buyer behavior for different segments, would you recommend creating unique messages for different segments?
Absolutely, Kelly. I think that's a great question. I think it's very important for you to understand who your customer is, how exactly is he or she engaging with your brand, your website, but more importantly, how exactly are they really engaging with your ad copy or ad listing. So from that perspective, I think it's exceptionally important for you to go ahead and have customized messages, which basically sort of just helps you sort of address and make a much more targeted, hyper-targeted search marketing campaign.
Okay, great. Next one we have here is, since mobile is fast becoming a bottom of the funnel device, what are some of the best search marketing practices that NetElixir recommends?
The first one I think is pretty straight. That's a great question. Let me sort of think through it a little bit. It's a great question. I think the first one would be reconsidering the impact of call to action, because people respond to a different type of call to action on mobile devices compared to desktop. Let me share with you on the same line. I'm probably digressing a lot, but we recently did a study for all the gifting companies of a simple keyword, right? Let us say restaurants near me or flowers near me, etc. And we sort of did the same study around Valentine's Day. We were amazed to find that near me searches, the probability of the person sort of doing that search was higher, believe it or not, from a desktop compared to mobile phone. That was almost like a wow finding, and we are still struggling to comprehend why this really happened. So that's, I think, one, just having a very specific call to action. The second one is a very highly aggressive bidding tactic 7 days prior to an event, let us say Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, etc. And the third thing is having a different type of analytics KPIs created. Because the same KPI that you have used for desktop may not really always work here as well. So again, so those are the three things: the analytics, the customized messages, and yep. So those are some of the things that you should probably practice. So, yeah.
All right. So the next question that came in: do you have the gender breakdown on who was posting about vegan candies?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't. Twitter was a very unique study that we did, but we can definitely get back to you, Scott, in terms of what percentage breakdown was there after we really analyzed the result. But that's a great question. Thank you.
All right, and the last question we have time for right now, have you tried custom email targeting first-party data and targeting keywords such as Valentine's gift?
Again, a sort of a very, very, very good question. We have done a little bit. We, in fact, sort of, actually, if you really read our SEM hacks book, one of the topics that we are sort of very interested in is this concept of preserving your cookie pool from Valentine's Day customer. Let me sort of repeat this: preserving the cookie pool for Valentine's Day customer for a span of 365 days, right? Because Google provides this option of customer match and very specifically targeted emails, remarketing, etc., which definitely can be a great ROI driver in terms of acquiring new customers as such. So yes, we have done some tests, but those tests have not been included in this research that we sort of presented to you now. But great question, Nicholas. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so that's all the time we have for Q&A right now. As we wrap up today's webinar, we wanted to introduce you to NetElixir University. I do see some of our members on today's webinar, but we'd love all of you to join our LinkedIn group and participate in engaging discussions. And new for 2016, we have just launched our new University Book Club. So every month, Udayan will be reviewing a book. So if you want to hear the latest review, feel free to check out our page. And as Udayan mentioned earlier, our last announcement, we have published our hacks book from January webinar in our search marketing playbook. So if you're interested in receiving this, please visit our website, netelixir.com/SEM_hacks. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to write to us directly at university@netelixir.com, and we will respond to your questions as quickly as possible. So I'd like to thank Udayan, and a special thank you goes out to all of you, the audience, for spending the last half hour with us. Have a great day and a wonderful 2016. We hope to see you at our next event.
Thank you very much.